Hi, my name's Dixon. I'm a member of Evidence-Based Eating, and I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Mark Craig, who's a medical doctor and has been member of our committee for the whole time, which is about 5 years now. So Mark, just to start off, can you just give us a quick rundown? What is a whole food plant-based diet?
Yeah, thanks, Grant. Well, plant-based diets or a whole food plant-based diet is a diet that consists of eating predominantly or exclusively foods that are grown in the ground or come from plants in all their forms. So, to actually list them, this is the groups of whole grains, legumes, which are beans, chickpeas, lentils, vegetables of all sorts, fruits, nuts and seeds. And the whole food part pertains to avoiding processed and refined foods, which we're absolutely surrounded by these days, things that have had their nutrients and fiber removed.
Foods, which would include junk foods or fast foods like hamburgers.
That's right, yeah. And lots of processed foods are plant-based foods. So in fact, probably a majority of them come from plants. So sugars, refined carbohydrates, foods that are, a very harmful, detrimental food product, things like breads and white flour goods, etc. But anything with added chemicals had their fiber and many nutrients stripped. For example, rather than eating an apple, you may end up eating, apple jam or a preserve or something like that, where it's had a lot of processing, a lot of heating, a lot of things added like sugars and things like that, rather than eating the whole fruit. Or orange juice, that's a fairly processed food or refined food, you might call it. So you've had the fiber, a lot of the nutrients taken away, and you're just left with the orange juice. And that's in the past was thought to be healthy, and now we know it gives you big sugar spikes, and we shouldn't be having it. We should be eating the whole food. But it also incorporates all the things like the chips, the cookies, the buns, the muffins.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are things you should avoid, and you should stick to foods that are as close to nature, as it's grown in the ground or the tree. And plant-based diets, just to clarify, so that might encompass people who eat exclusively this way. So many people do, for various health reasons, for the environment, for animal ethics, or it might be people who, are a bit flexitarian, so they eat predominantly this way. So you might call it a plant-centered or plant-strong diet.
You would recommend a whole food plant-based diet exclusively?
Yeah, I think the evidence points that way. Certainly for my patients, the first thing I say is get rid of your processed food, whether it's plant origin or animal origin, and then bumping up the whole plant food side of your diet, more veggies, more eating things like legumes regularly, reducing the red meats, the higher fat dairy, and swapping some of those animal products for plant origin products. And then there's a question for people, I think it's a personal one often, of whether they go plant exclusive or whether they retain elements of animal products in an unprocessed form in their diet. Certainly for myself, looking at the evidence, I follow a completely plant exclusive diet, if you like. But which is what EBE obviously recommends.
And what about your journey? How did you get onto this?
It was through a colleague who introduced me to the evidence. As we know, at medical school, you're not taught very much about nutrition. I think it still isn't taught very much, but it's people are getting onto the wellness thing now, including doctors, because the public are very demanding it, and there's more science and information out there. So when you see a lot of the evidence really from major international studies, major meta-analyses, but the more and more you read about the science, and it's not easy for people, I have to say, it's not easy for even doctors, but the science consensus is definitely around eating lots of whole plant foods in your diet and having that as the predominant part of your diet. And to be honest, for people who want to reduce their main risks of disease, so that might include heart and stroke disease, cancers, dementias, diabetes, these sort of four horsemen of the apocalypse, as they call it, these major conditions that kill most of our population. Having a plant exclusive diet to me looks like it offers the best chance for people.
And did you notice any changes in your own personal health when you changed your diet?
I think the things I mainly felt personally were better gut health, better tummy health, less feeling of full and over satiety, better. When you eat a lot more fiber and a lot more high nutrients, you just feel better. You feel a bit more energized. You feel like you put something, healthy into your body. Rather, it improves your gut health, improves your bowel health. Something people don't talk about much, but things like constipation, diarrhea, gut health problems are really prevalent in our society, and a lot of those are due to our diet. There are other lifestyle factors, but diet is the number one thing. I don't know. I never have to worry about weight. Never. I mean, I've always been relatively lean, but I probably lost about 5 or 6 kilos, and I'm 72 kg. My weight never changes. I eat as much as I like of these sorts of food because, and this is the way they work for weight loss, they're low in calorie density. So lots of fiber, lots of water in them. If you want to gain a bit of weight, you can increase the calorie density of the food. You can eat more sort of slightly higher carbohydrate containing foods, or more fat, healthier fat containing foods like nuts and seeds, and a bit more avocado, etc. So yeah, I didn't have any diagnosed health conditions, but I just felt better, especially after a meal. In that 1 or 2 hours after a meal, I just feel like I've eaten something good, and I don't get that kind of real dip that some people get in the afternoon that you get from refined or processed foods or lots of breads, or you might get from heavy meat type meals.
You do a lot of exercise, don't you? A lot of biking. How does it help then?
I compete with people that are at a good level for my age. I'm 51 now. I can snack on the same energy foods, like I have bananas and things to keep going, dates during endurance sports. I recover pretty quickly from training. So yeah, I think it benefits me a lot. I think particularly in the weight area, because that's, you really do want to be a nice, healthy weight, really. Each extra kilo you accumulate increases your chance of different sorts of cancers, and it starts to tie in with this thing called metabolic syndrome, which is this whole cluster of high blood fats, high visceral fat, which is the belly fat, high blood pressure, and other measures. There's sort of 5 measures of it, and there's a whole they think about 30-40% of the population now are developing this metabolic syndrome, which sort of leads to heart disease, stroke disease, and diabetes and pre-diabetes and insulin resistance. So this whole spectrum of foods.
Well, finally, you're seeing patients all the time, I guess. What's the one thing, or is there one thing, or 1 or 2 things that relate to diet that you really wish people would get sorted out in their lives?
I used to say, I think cutting down on animal products is probably the number one thing, but actually I think it's the processed foods. The evidence seemed to point to refined carbohydrates, refined processed fats and oils, these sorts of foods first, and then to bulk up the whole food, whole plant food side, so the whole grains, legumes, fruits and veggies, just bulking up that side of your diet, and that tends to reduce the amount of animal products in your diet. If you've got a diagnosed health condition, then I say, look, because for a lot of conditions, there's quite good evidence, or even lots of case series which are accumulated individual case studies, indicating that people can improve these conditions, like trying to reverse heart disease, or the risk factors like blood pressure, high cholesterol, if they follow a whole food plant-based diet. So cutting out processed food first, and then bulking up the whole plant food side of your diet in replacing those, and that will bring down your overall animal product side of your diet. And when I see people for my longer consultations, I might spend an hour or more with them at the first occasion to go through food diaries and talk about where they are in their life, and how able they are to make changes. And then some people are all or nothing, some people are bit by bit.
That's worked for me. I went overnight, but other people are gradual. And as you say, any change along the road is a good change. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark. That was all good. And I guess we'll end up there. Thank you very much.